Hello everyone, welcome to the certificate course in vocabulary building. My name is Rochelle Tauro and I am an assistant professor in the Department of English at St. Aloysius College, Mangaluru. I am glad that you have opted to take a vocabulary course and I hope that you have a good learning experience. So let's begin. Unit 1 is Introduction to Vocabulary. But before we go into vocabulary, let us look at the topic of language, as we all are here to hone our language skills, right? Primarily to hone our language skills. So what is language? Language is a structured system of communication. It is a structured system of communication. Notice the word system there. How can language be a system? So language is considered as a system primarily because it is made up of components that are independent of each other. So language made up of components which are independent of each other. So these components, they combine with each other according to a set of rules. So language, which is a system, it is made up of components. First point is language is made up of components. Second point is these components combine with each other according to rules. So there are rules in place. So if there were no rules, what would have happened? What do you think would have happened? If words were combined without any grammatical rules and so on, what would have happened? There would be no meaning. So we use language to create meaning, that is, to speak effectively, to communicate effectively, right? So if there are no rules, then it would be meaningless. So sounds combine to form words and words combine to form meaningful utterances. Your sounds, words, these are components. So language is made up of components, right? Sounds and words, these are the components. Next. If these methods were not systematic, then all utterances would be meaningless. So language is a system. Why is it a system? It has rules in place. If there were no rules, then we would not have been able to understand each other. So language comprises of three major components. So we were speaking about language as being made up of components. So here are three major components. When I use the word major, obviously I mean there are many other components, but here I list out three major components. The first one is phonology. I'll explain this. Second one is vocabulary and third one is grammar. What is phonology? Just by looking at the words, you must know what it means. These are the strategies used in vocabulary learning. So what is phonology? Have you come across the word telephone? Everybody knows, right, what a telephone is. So tele means distance. The root word tele in the word telephone means distance and phone means sound. So a sound coming from a distance is a telephone. So here you have the root word phone, just like how in telephone you had the phone root word. You have the same root word here. So phone means sound. Logi, you've definitely come across the root word logi, sociology, archaeology. So logi is nothing but study. So you have phonology, study of sounds, right? So language is made up of components, and the English language is made up of three components here: phonology, vocabulary, grammar. We are studying about the English language here. Phonology, vocabulary, and grammar. So in phonology, every other language will have three components, three major components, and many other minor components. It's not just English. So here, phonology is the study of language. So if you want to, study phonetics, it's called phonetics, then you would have to take a course in phonetics, that is the study of sounds. So let's pause here a while. Tell me how many alphabets are there in the English language. So whenever I ask you a question, I want you to pause the video and think for yourself and answer for yourself before you continue the video, because I will ask a question and give you the answer right then and there. Since this is a video, you can pause. So what is how many alphabets are there in the English language? If you say 26, then you are wrong because there are 26 letters. There is only one alphabet in the English language. There is only one alphabet. An alphabet is nothing but a chain of words, just like how you wear a chain and there are beads on that chain. So the beads are the words and the alphabet is the chain. All right. So alphabet is a chain of words. So there is only one alphabet in the English language. Probably in the other languages, there may be more alphabets. I do not know. But in the English language, you have one alphabet consisting of 26 letters. And how many sounds? There are 44 sounds in the English language. There are 20 vowel sounds and 24 consonant sounds in the English language. When you learn Indian languages like Hindi, Kannada, Malayalam, when you are a kid, your teacher probably has taught you Varnamala, right? Kaka, Kiki, A, I, E. But in English, we weren't taught. In India, we weren't taught phonology. We would mostly concentrate on vocabulary and grammar. So here, so these are the three major components of language, right? So in this course, we'll take a closer look at the topic of vocabulary and explore some of the reasons why it's so important and how it can help you achieve fluency faster. This is what we are going to look at. Now that we have spoken about language and I've made it very clear how vocabulary is a part of language. So it is a component, okay? And all these components are interdependent. They're not, they're all connected. Look at this background image I have here that I've inserted here. There are different colors of circles and there are lines here. What does it show? It shows a network. It shows a network that has been formed, right? They're all interdependent. They're all connected. It's a system. So language is similarly a system. And these are the components there. Next, look at this quote here by David Wilkins. He's a British linguist. Without grammar, very little can be conveyed. Without vocabulary, nothing can be conveyed. So he says, without grammar, very little can be conveyed. Do you agree? So there is this huge debate about what is important. Is grammar important or is vocabulary important? Okay, so he says without vocabulary, nothing can be conveyed. So as children, do children learn grammar? No, right? But they are able to convey message, right? They are able to share their thoughts. If a child is hungry or thirsty, it would tell its mama or dada that it is thirsty just by saying that, just by using one word, right? So, but as we become, older, we cannot keep on using, just single words to convey our thoughts. So I wouldn't be able to do this presentation just by using a few simple basic words, right? So in that way, just by studying grammar, you will, or just by studying vocabulary, you cannot really make any progress. So grammar and vocabulary, all components of the language are equally important. Okay. So here, David Wilkins says, without vocabulary, nothing can be conveyed. Yes, that is true. Right? Then, when you have words, you have to put those words together in a sentence and you will require grammar there. So in that way, everything is important. Now, coming to the next part here. So when it comes to learning English, most people spend hours working through textbooks, doing grammar exercises, and watching movies and shows, right? But what we don't realize is that working on vocabulary is just as important, if not more important, when it comes to achieving language learning goals. So this brings us to the question, what is vocabulary? The next slide is what is vocabulary? So we have studied about what language is and that vocabulary is a component. So what is vocabulary? So when I asked this to a student, the student was so frustrated with all the words that are there in the English language. So the student told me, vocabulary is nothing but words, ma'am. And English vocabulary specifically is lots and lots of words. That is what English vocabulary is. So we had a good laugh over that. My student was right. So English vocabulary is always growing, because a language, just like a human being, is born, is brought to life, okay, by a community or some. When people talk, you bring about the birth of a language. It can grow. English language is growing, largely because it is a global language. It is a linked language. It connects many different worlds there. So in that way, it has been borrowing a lot of words from other languages and so on. So in that way, language can be born, it can grow, and it can also die. So there are those some languages which are dead now because nobody uses them. So here, what is vocabulary? So vocabulary is the body of words that make up a language, or it is a collection of words and phrases in a language that all of its speakers understand. So vocabulary is a collection of words and phrases. Phrases is nothing but groups of words. So some certain groups of words that come together in order to make meaning. So individually, you don't understand the meaning. When they are put together, you can understand the meaning behind those words. So a collection of words and phrases in the language that all of its speakers understand. So they are familiar with those words. All of its speakers can be familiar with those words, or they may not be familiar also, but they can go to a dictionary. You can use a dictionary, and the dictionary will contain all the words. So they can use a dictionary and become familiar with those words. So in that way, vocabulary is a collection of words and phrases in a language that all of its speakers understand. So a person would use these words or groups of words for effective communication. You can think of vocabulary as raw building blocks, just like how you when you're building a building, you use bricks, right? One above the other in order to construct the building. Similarly, you can think of vocabulary as building blocks that we can use to express our thoughts and ideas, to understand others, and to grow relationships. So just look at this image that I've put here. These two people are stepping closer and closer to each other. They are stepping on something. Do you see what that is? It is a bubble. It is a speech bubble, you could say. And they are talking to each other. Language connects people. So we can use language to grow relationships. So this is how powerful the language is. Right? Okay. Next. So a strong working knowledge of vocabulary can be an invaluable tool. They say language is a powerful tool, right? So you have to learn to use it. So a strong working knowledge, working. What does the word working mean here? Is knowledge working? Knowledge is working somewhere? Or knowledge is strong and working? Is that what it means? No, right? So a strong working knowledge. Working is something that is active. So you have a knowledge of vocabulary, but is it active? Are you really using it? Now here I want you to think of all the English words you understand perfectly when reading Shakespeare. Look at this girl here reading Shakespeare. Is she really reading or looking at us? But anyways, so I want you to think of all the English words you understand when reading Shakespeare. If you've not read Shakespeare, think of some other book, right? So, but it never occurs to you to use these words when speaking, right? So you read some book, you understand a lot of those words, but you never really use them. So this is because all language users have an active and passive vocabulary. These are the types of vocabulary: active vocabulary and passive vocabulary. So the active vocabulary consists of words you understand and use in everyday life. So your active vocabulary will consist of words that you understand and that you use them in everyday life, in your reading, talking, listening, speaking. In all these cases, you use these words. If you're using the words, that means those words are in your active vocabulary. But there is also the passive vocabulary. So passive vocabulary comprises of words you may recognize but not use every day. So there are some words. So how can you understand Shakespeare if you're not really, having an active vocabulary of all those words, because you have a passive vocabulary which helps you recognize, okay, but do not can recognize, but you do not use those words every day. So words may move freely between your active and passive vocabulary as time goes on. As time goes on, you may forget words, you may relearn words, you may learn new words. So in this way, vocabulary, that is words, move freely between your active and passive vocabulary. But your passive vocabulary will always be much larger, will definitely always be much larger than your active vocabulary. Now, what is this here? Look at this picture here. Tell me what it could mean. So everyone says vocabulary is important, right? Even I told you vocabulary is important. You need to learn vocabulary. But why? You already know enough of words to talk to people every day. So why should you learn new words? Well, your vocabulary has more impact than what you think, right? The vocabulary has more impact than you think. So uh, here, the two people speaking, look at this man here. He has an image drawn over his head there. Probably he's talking about it or he's thinking about it. Okay, and that image is very basic. It looks very basic, elementary sort of a drawing of a man there. You know, he literally looks like as if it's just sticks. All right, not really a person, but sticks there. And the hair also is not, it's standing up and everything. So in this way, this person has a very basic knowledge about this concept. Okay, and do you know what this image really stands for? It stands for Da Vinci, Leonardo da Vinci. Leonardo da Vinci's um, drawing. It's called the Vitruvian Man. The other person has, very precisely been able to maybe speak about it or understand the Vitruvian Man's painting there. Okay? Why is this so? This is because of the development of a good vocabulary. So this person, if you have good vocabulary, you can easily talk about whatever you think. So learning vocabulary deepens your knowledge. Now here, let us look at some of the reasons as to why we should develop a good vocabulary. So some of the reasons here are: a robust vocabulary improves all areas of communication, be it listening, speaking, reading, writing. Those with poor reading comprehension skills either lack the vocabulary or the word recognition skills to make sense of the text. Word recognition skills. So when studying vocabulary, you will come across, I will teach you certain strategies, and just like how I taught you the word phonology there. Similarly, there are a lot of word recognition skills that you can develop and use. So if you develop a good vocabulary, you can achieve fluency faster, express your thoughts better. Then you can gain advanced reading and comprehension skills. If you become good at reading, then you will deepen your knowledge, and this will lead to promotes long-term retention. So once you understand topics, you don't have to by heart them and keep memorizing them. Instead, you just know them, right? So it promotes long-term retention. You can remember those concepts very well. So in this way, from action words to descriptive words, a strong vocabulary facilitates precise writing and helps you avoid vague words. So vague words, just like how people keep saying very beautiful, very tall, very handsome. So rather than all those vague, very, very, very all the time vague words, you can use precise writing, proper, concise writing also. So it also helps in writing skills. If the right words are not used, they can cause embarrassing moments. For example, I love the story of the hare and the tortoise. Imagine somebody writing that down. Hare. Look at the spelling of hare. Hare is something that grows on a head. But here, hare is supposed to be an animal, right? Hare. Hare and the tortoise. He realized, look at the second example, he realized it was time to flee the country. Look at the word flee there. Is that the right word? No. Flea is an insect. And FLEE is to fly away. So that makes more sense. So in this way, if you learn vocabulary and the strategies, you will be better able to understand and also avoid embarrassing moments and confusing words. So a limited vocabulary comprises of limited understanding of concepts, whereas a rich vocabulary deepens your knowledge. So rich vocabulary will ultimately end you up in making good academic progress. Alright. So rich vocabulary deepens your knowledge and promotes long-term retention. So as a student, every student must learn vocabulary in order to become better. So broadening your vocabulary can boost your confidence and grant you greater credibility. Greater credibility. Now, what does that mean? Credibility is nothing but trustworthy. So by listening to you, people will start believing you, just start trusting in what you say. So if you have that power of knowledge, you can have confidence too. This last slide is about levels of language proficiency, right? So you can test your language proficiency or your language level, all right? So here you have one scale, the CEFR scale for languages, which is widely accepted for grading an individual's language level. So CEFR is Common European Framework of Reference. It has 6 levels of language proficiency: A1, A2, B1, B2, C1, and C2. A1 is the beginner level. It is like the elementary, basic level. A2 is pre-intermediate. B1 is intermediate. B2 is upper intermediate. C1 is advanced. And C2 is proficient or fluent. So if you achieve these the C1 or C2, that means you're very proficient, you're very advanced in the knowledge of English. So this is all for today. Thank you.